So welcome back to another Thursday on the Pagan Perspective. I am your host, Jehr, and this week we've been talking about how drugs or substances relate to our practice as pagans, or have we seen it in other pagan communities, in rituals, and what are our general thoughts about this topic. So for me, I want to start by saying that this is, like many topics, I feel very strongly that each person is the only person who can really decide for themselves what's right for themselves. So I have what I've decided in my life, my general feelings and thoughts, which I'm going to share with you a little bit here, and you've got yours and someone else has theirs, and I don't think that's a problem, right? We get to have our own opinions. So this is going to be a pretty short topic this week because in my life I have chosen not to do any illicit drugs, and that's for several different reasons. The biggest of which is that the risk really isn't worth it to me. I've taken a lot of chemistry classes, actually, more than I have fingers to count on, and so I have a pretty good idea of what a lot of those substances are actually doing on a chemical level, and I'm not really interested in that in terms of where my health is, where my fitness, my body is, what the impacts that could have. Now there are some illicit drugs out there that have very minimal impact, but there's still the element for me of the legality of it and the consequences of being caught doing that is not worth the risk for me. So I'm not interested in them for those reasons. But a deeper reason also is, where am I in my life? What am I trying to do in my life? And bringing it to talking about our practices. For me, being a pagan is really about being as connected and conscious and mindful and aware of the world, the system that I exist in, which we call nature. And what I want from my existence and part of this system is to be happy, to be clear-minded, to be healthy, to be able to do the things that I decide to value. And I don't think that those many substances would really help me in that direction. And so it's not something that I have or do choose to do any experimenting with. Again, if that's something that you're doing, that's your business. I'm not going to judge you for it. The only time that it really is an issue for me is if it's having some negative, detrimental, destructive impact on my life or the life of one of my loved ones, or the life of, or the community as a whole. Another aspect for me is, I think that one of the challenges for folks in the 21st century, particularly I've noticed it in my generation and the generations kind of around, a little bit older, a little bit younger, I think that we have a very hard time as a culture, as a generational culture, at being alone with ourselves, at being able to be quiet and without all of these distractions. I mean, I am never further than a few feet from this thing. Constantly, we've got music, we have webcomics, we're on the, all of our social networking. I'm not saying these things are bad, I'm just saying that we're constantly surrounded and bombarded by all of this stuff which is out there. And sometimes it's really very challenging for us to come in here and just to hang out with ourselves. And that's something that I have really been trying to put a lot of focus on in my life. Something that I see us not being, as a group, as a big group, not being very strong in that. And I think that it doesn't look to me like a lot of these drugs, and of course drugs are very diverse things, they have many different impacts, but a lot of the real popular ones aren't really helping to, they're kind of doing the opposite. They're creating a little bit of a disconnect from self, which is an attractive thing for some people, especially if you're looking for relaxation or escape or that sort of thing. That can be positive, but that's not really what I'm looking for in my life right now. I'm really trying to focus on figuring out what is this? Who is this? How does it feel when I do X, Y, Z? I mean, all of that. So risk's not worth it to me, and doesn't seem to really be helping, wouldn't be something that would help take me in the direction of my goals. It's not really, it doesn't seem like a good fit for me. Now, back again to the question of have I seen other people in pagan, Wiccan practices that have used those? Yes. Is it something that I participated in group rituals in which people have been? No. I'm not really comfortable being around, well, for instance, when other people are drunk, I don't like being around drunk people unless I'm also drunk. And it's the same for other types of like intense emotions. If somebody's under the influence, I don't want to be around them unless I can be there with them. And because I don't do those things, I mean, I do drink occasionally, maybe 2-3 times a month. I might have a beer or cider. I'm not really a wine or spirits kind of person. So I guess I also use my kitchen so I can show you how well loved this thing is. Drink this every single morning, which technically that is a drug. And for this video I've been talking about some of the stronger of the substances. So I'm not sure really where else to go with this video, other than, I guess it asks about the question that is asked about our thoughts on the topic in general. Like many things, I think it really depends on what your intentions, what your goals are, and that it's important to be mindful and aware of what choices you're making, and to continue to go through and reevaluate. Look at the results and how does that feel, you know, what do you see in your life with that, and then continue to be mindful and reevaluate that. If I had to give a suggestion to folks who are maybe new to paganism or new to any practice or path, would be to really get a sense of yourself, really very strong in what your mind is able to do on its own before getting that little extra help, if that's what you are doing. If those are the choices you're making. So I'm not saying make my choices that I make, you know, make whatever choices you make. That's, I mean, you can't really say anything else, right? And I guess kind of disclaimer here, I'm not telling you to do anything illegal either. So yeah, a little bit of a rambly video, but I hope that kind of communicates a little bit of my views on the topic, and would actually love to hear. I've read a little bit of the comments from the other videos, but if you guys have more to say, would love to see that in the comments below. And have a great week. Okay.